Meta weapons, or most effective tactics available, are a huge part of gaming nowadays, especially when it comes to having a fighting chance in competition. According to Dexterto, there is an XDefiant weapon tier list, S through C, S being the best of the best, and C tier potentially being the worst of the worst. So is it possible to achieve success with any of these weapons that aren't S or A tier? Or more importantly, can you dominate with C tier weapons? If this is your first time here, welcome, and if you are returning, welcome back. Feel free to light up the comment section as we go along. Let's get rolling. Let's take a minor pivot for a second here though, and take a peek at what executive producer over at Ubisoft, Mark Rubin, is saying about the weapon progression system. Let's talk about weapon leveling and mastery. Attachments for weapons affect gameplay, and people were unlocking attachments slower than we estimated. The faster leveling is in response to that. Weapon mastery, on the other hand, does not affect gameplay and is supposed to be something special that shows off your dedication to a weapon. And so that rebalance of levels was in response to that. Now, if you ever read any of my posts, if you heard me speak, I try to be as honest, open, and transparent as possible with everyone. And I know this change may upset some people, and we are always willing to say we didn't do the right thing and we need to correct. We will own our decision and will continue to evaluate. That being said, I love it if you guys gave this change a fair chance. We want to hear from you, whether it's positive or negative. Also, this whole system is being redone to be more engaging for everyone. It will be a couple of seasons before we see this, but we will be looking at feedback now to improve our future implementation. So XDefiant just increased the weapon mastery level requirements. Bronze unlocks are now level 100, silver unlocks are now level 150, and gold unlocks are now level 200. This is to counterbalance the faster access to all weapon attachments. Good decision or not? What's your take on this? Did you think the mastery and weapon progression system could have stayed the way it was? Or do you think this is a bit of a questionable decision? This one is a bit tough for me to speak on, but with double XP weekend in the mix for almost every weekend, if not every weekend so far, it could be effective. But since I have not been spending as much time on XDefiant as I would like, because life has just been full on kicking my ass here lately,
Fight back, nigga.
I'm a little unsure of this. Let us know what you think down below though. Now let's go ahead and get into the bread and butter of this video. So what makes a weapon meta in video games? A weapon becomes meta when it dominates the game's competitive landscape due to its effectiveness and widespread adoption by players. Here are some key factors that contribute to a weapon being considered meta. So first, we have performance attributes. Meta weapons excel in crucial stats like damage, range, and handling. They offer advantages in gunfights, making them go-to choices for players. And also, this one is huge, community consensus. More so by more advanced players, maybe some pro players or content creators. The player community's preference plays a significant role when a weapon gains popularity and becomes widely used. This is part of what makes it become meta. Community discussions and personal experiences shape this consensus. Remember that the meta can shift over time as game balance changes, new weapons are introduced, or patches are applied. Keep in mind though, what's meta today may not be meta tomorrow. So I mentioned a weapons tier list according to Dexterto at the top of the video. Here is what the list has to offer, and with most weapons in XDefiant being pretty balanced for the most part, a lot of this is subjective. Obviously, I do think weapons like the ACR 6.8 and the MP7 are absolute S tier weapons, but I also have two of my favorite weapons in the game sitting at C tier. As you can tell by the gameplay, the M4A1 is an absolute shredder, and you could definitely put in some work with this weapon along with the MP5A2. But it does not quite dominate like the MP7 and the Vector, I will admit that. As much as I love the MP7, I think that is probably my favorite weapon in the game. I do think the Vector has it outclassed just by a bit in the submachine gun department. If you would want to make your own weapon tier list, feel free to let us know down below. And also, there will be more sources out there that don't contain this exact same list. But again, these weapons are super balanced in XDefiant, which is an absolute W. And I do think you can put down some really good damage and do some good deeds for your team, depending on what weapon you use and how you use it. So let's take a look at some weapon stats here. We're gonna take a peek at the ACR 6.8, followed up by the M4A1, the ACR 6.8 being a top tier weapon, and the M4A1 allegedly being a bottom tier weapon. For the ACR, the damage is 21 to 17 depending on the range. The fire rate is 625 rounds per minute, bullet penetration is 1, mobility is 1.0 milliseconds, Sprint out time is 320.0 milliseconds. Followed up those exact same numbers with the ADS time. Aiming stability is 6%, and both the vertical and horizontal recoil are 50%. Now, putting it up against the M4A1, the damage is 17 to 14 depending on range, which gives the ACR a leg up in the damage department, but the rate of fire being 725 rounds per minute, which is 100 rounds per minute more versus the ACR. Bullet penetration and mobility are the same. The sprint out time on the M4A1 is 260.0 ms, which is faster than the ACR, and the exact same situation for the ADS time. The aiming stability is 6% as well, and the recoil horizontal and vertical are both 50%. Looking at these two weapons, they compete with each other very well. If I didn't look at a list, I would think these weapons are in the same tier, or if not, just one tier apart. Now let's scoot on over to the SMG class. Again, one from the S tier and the other from the C tier. So the MP7 being the S tier weapon, damage is 19 to 8 depending on your range. The fire rate is 875 rounds per minute. Bullet penetration is 1, mobility is 1, sprint out time is 185 ms. Same thing with the ADS time. Aiming stability is 14%, and horizontal and vertical recoil both 50%. Now, as far as the MP5A2, damage is 18 to 10 depending on range. Rate of fire 800 rounds per minute. Bullet penetration and mobility 1. Sprint out time and ADS time 175 ms. Aim stability 14%, and again, horizontal and vertical recoil is 50%. There are more stats to all four of these weapons. You can really dig deep into the weapon and really figure out what makes one weapon better than the other. So on paper, it is clear that the MP7 is the better weapon though. But again, is it really that much of a difference? Let us know what you think. Just really quick, let's talk about my guys over at Waves Customs. You can use Waves for not only gaming, but anything else for your lifestyle. Maybe you like to work out, maybe you like to play music, but for gaming, these things are the truth. You can get these fitted for your ears only just by 3D scanning your ears with your smartphone, both iPhone and Android. Not only does Waves kill it in audio, they also kill it in the aesthetics department. You can get them in almost any colorway, and you can get almost any logo or anything printed on them, such as your favorite esports team, such as your favorite e-girl, whatever the case is. Waves has you covered as far as aesthetics, and most definitely, and most importantly, audio. You'd be amazed of what you can hear in game with these in-ear monitors. Check these guys out. It'll be the first link down in the description, and use code NERV7 for 10% off any purchase at checkout. So ultimately, are non-metal weapons viable in XDefiant? Absolutely. But I do think the real test will be seeing how these B and C tier weapons stack up against the competition in rank play. And what do you think of the adjustments to the weapon leveling and mastery? Let us know down below. Check out these two videos here, and if you dug the content, consider subscribing as we chase down our first 1K subs here on the channel. Thank you all for your time. All y'all take care, and I'm out.